Tonight, it's Easter on the living room.
Buy more eggs.
Barry rescues a home in a weekend.
I'm giving an old house a new life with some old treasures and a fresh coat of paint.
Chris spends Easter... Welcome, gentlemen, to our Easter extravaganza. All right, but Barry, we're going to kick off with you.
It's Easter, so that's another day in the weekend, a long weekend. You know what that means, don't you?
What does that mean?
Stack of time to spruce up the house.
4 days to spruce up a whole house.
You will be amazed what we can achieve in 4 days. For the past 8 years, this cute little workers' cottage in Enmore has been the loving home of Sandra.
I met some fantastic people. It's a very friendly street. People come around for dinner, lunch, things like that. Yeah, I'm really happy here.
The inside of her home reflects her warm, welcoming nature. But on the outside...
Currently, the house I think of as being the ugliest one in the street. The front is a shambles. The breeze block fence has become dangerous because it's breaking. The window at the front doesn't go with the house at all. The veranda roof, it doesn't suit the style and it leaks. The front door is actually an internal door that they've put on as an external door, so that is not a good thing. It's just not me.
That simple journey from the pavement to your front door is the first glimpse our visitors get of your personality. So I'll ask the question, what does that journey say about yours? Hello, Sandra.
Hello, Baz.
How are you?
I'm very well.
What about your facade? You've got some problems with it.
Oh, yes, it's very ugly.
Ugly?
Ugly.
I reckon this was built in the early 1900s. I reckon that renovation is about 50 years ago, and it's screaming for another one.
Oh, yeah.
I like to think that your home should welcome you and light up when you arrive to it, and also welcome your visitors. How do we put your stamp on this?
Complete facelift, I'd say. I envisage a kind of cottage feel to the start of it, the front of the house.
I think we really need to strip this back and give it that heritage feel.
And a classic heritage look is what my new plan is all about.
I think we can agree that you want bright and airy.
Yes.
And I think a little traditional.
A little bit, yeah.
We're going to start by tearing out the window, door and fence, as well as plastic awning to give us a blank slate to work from. We'll put weatherboard cladding on the front and give the whole house a lick of paint. Then put a proper exterior door, a shortened bullnose roof, and replace the window with a little gem I've got hidden away. Finally, to add some character, we'll put on some decorative fretwork. And what cottage is complete without a white picket fence?
You like that?
Yes, I do.
Terrific. There's beautiful colour right through this home, so I need to get some ideas. Do you want contrast, subtle? Do you want to be bold?
Reasonably bold.
I've got a colour scheme in mind. Now that you've seen my little cottage, are you happy to trust me on that?
I think I have to, because you've done way, way better than I could have ever thought of on this already, so yes.
All right, if you trust me on colour, I think you and I need to go shopping, and I'm going to let Dylan start demolishing.
Great.
We all know first impressions count, so for this one, I'm getting in Dylan and the demolition dogs. And while they get cracking on the teardown, we're heading off to Bunnings.
I'm really keen to give that home of yours back its cottage look.
Yeah?
The great thing is, everything we need for that is right here in the aisles of Bunnings.
Cool.
And the first thing I need to address is replacing that front door.
You want glass or no glass?
Yeah, I like a bit of glass, but opaque so you can't see.
Well, that's gorgeous.
That is perfect.
If you like that, that's a winner.
I do like that.
There's the front door done.
That's perfect.
Check.
Now for some decorative pieces with a heritage feel.
Now, this is what we call fretwork. Now, your little workman's cottage never would have had this, but I think it's going to have some real charm. What do you reckon?
I like that idea, yeah.
And there's one classic element we can't go past.
Nothing says cottage like a cute little picket fence out the front. What do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely.
And to cap it off, we're putting in a special order for a custom bullnose roof. While we've been shopping up a storm, it looks like the rain has set in, but that's not enough to slow our boys down.
My 40's on.
They've completed the demolition and even been able to lay the foundations for the new picket fence and awning. And rain or not, I'm still as keen as mustard, because I reckon the gem I've got for Sandra's old window will absolutely knock her socks off.
Barry, a beautiful old classic piece. There must be a lot of houses like that that have been, what's the word I'm looking for?
Buggered?
Absolutely buggered by subsequent changes. So what's the approach there?
Well, we want to bring the charm back to this little cottage. So where I can, I'm going to restore the period pieces. But any of the new things I bring in, I want to be really sympathetic to the heritage of the house, sort of making the best of the old and the new.
Like Kris Jenner's plastic surgery.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Well, we'll see more of that renovation later in the show. And after the break, how to turn the worst house in the street into a winner. You're back in the living room. Now, Barry, earlier in the show, we saw you start some renovation work on an old workers' cottage that had lost its heritage charm.
Yeah, to say the least. About 50 years ago, they'd done a renovation on that place, and as much as the aluminium window might have been in trend then, less than attractive now. Sandra wants her home to be warm and inviting, so while my team is ripping out the ugly, Sandra and I can go shopping for the beautiful.
I'm on a mission to turn Sandra's faded facade into the envy of the street. And to do that, we're visiting a local restoration yard that is full of old treasures.
Your place was a workman's cottage and pretty plain at the front.
Oh, yes.
How do you feel about a little bit of lead light?
I would love some lead light. I've always loved lead light.
LED lights are the perfect way to give her facade that heritage look. And to make it even a bit more special, we're going for stained glass.
So these have been reconditioned, new ropes and weights, new trims there so they're not going to rattle, and I think that's the perfect scale for the front of your home. If you like it, let's see if we can buy it.
I like it.
With our shopping done, we're on to day 2 and the sun is shining. So Dylan and the boys are cracking on with the big stuff.
Now that the sun's out, it's time to rip this roof off and get the new one on.
With the plastic off, the bones of the veranda are revealed, and luckily the old timber is in good enough nick to use for our new bullnose roof.
In keeping with the cottage look, I'm trimming the veranda back to what would have been its original position. This will also let heaps more light in.
Meanwhile, Sandra and I are going to prepare our vintage window.
Now, anything that was built or painted before 1975 probably contains lead in the paint. So we're going to suit up with some protection gear on.
OK.
It's always better to be safe than sorry, so I've put down a drop sheet to stop the lead from getting into the stormwater or the garden. To get started, we're scraping off any loose paint from our window frame.
Our enemy with lead-based paint is the particles that get into the air.
So we're going to use wet and dry sandpaper with generous amounts of water to help contain the dust particles.
Sandra, the point is the dust and the lead is better here and in here than floating around in the air, and the water contains it beautifully.
Yeah.
Once you're happy with the sanding, clean down the surface with a damp rag and degrease with sugar soap. Then it's time for the undercoat.
Now, the best way to neutralise this lead-based paint is with a Taubens 3-in-1. That primes it, seals it, and allows a binding agent for our top coats. How do you feel about a bit of painting?
I think I could do that.
OK, I want a nice, liberal but even coat.
Looks like Sandra's a natural. And with Dylan preparing the window's new home, that leaves me with the fretwork.
Sanding and painting really intricate work like this fretwork or the tops of these pickets can be really tricky in situ. So I not only prime and seal them with a 3-in-1 before they go on, I'll then give them a light sand and the first of the top coats. Now, I reckon sanding and painting this here on the desk is a lot easier than when it's up there.
And to make sure our colour scheme lasts as long as possible, we're using Taubens paint with a NanoGuard technology, which will protect the house against mould and mildew.
Now, we're going to live with this paint job for quite a while to come yet. So grab some scrap bits of timber, put a coat of paint on it, and then be sure you're happy with the way it contrasts. Let's whack it on the walls.
With the intricate painting done, we're making great progress. Our gem of a window is secured in place and Dylan is framing it with weatherboard cladding, giving that cottage feel. We've even been able to top it off with our bullnose awning, so this place is really coming together. The key thing left is the colour scheme that Sandra has trusted me with. But before it goes on, she's heading away for the weekend.
I'm absolutely thrilled to bits with what Baz is planning on doing. I'm just hoping against hope that's everything I want when I get back.
Sandra's trusting us to make over her little cottage. We're using some old, and I'm trying some new, and I'm adding in some detail. Let's hope she loves it.
After the break, can Barry turn a drab inner-city cottage into the star of the street? Welcome back. You're in the living room. But Barry, this week you're on the street.
Yes, I was giving Sandra's little cottage a facelift.
Well, it needed quite a lot of work.
Yeah, well, that's an understatement. But what was really daunting is the fact that Sandra's going on holidays, which leaves all the decisions to me. Sandra has left us with the task of turning her old workman's cottage facade into the most charming on the street. We're well on our way, but what cottage is complete without a picket fence?
OK, I've mortised out the post, ready for the rail. I'll slot that in there and nail it off. Then it's ready for the pickets. This place is getting more and more character every second.
I'm using a string line as a guide to make sure my pickets are the same height. Then it's just a matter of nailing them on.
To work out my spacing, I'm just using an offcut of one of the pickets. Now, just to add a little bit more traditional detailing, I like to raise the last two pickets up to the height of the post.
Now for the all-important top coat. We're contrasting a soft blue colour on the house with a stronger, darker shade on the door, and making the whole place pop with white trims. And for the final touch, to make this picture perfect, we're adding some decorative styling pieces.
Well, Sandra is prepared for me to take over the renovation of her facade. She's minutes away. Let's just hope her new home says welcome.
Being on holiday and not being there and seeing what's actually going on and the development of the whole thing, it makes it all the more exciting coming back now and seeing the finished job. It's going to be fabulous, I know.
Only moments away now. Let's see what she thinks.
That's not my house. It's amazing. You've got a new letterbox.
Hello.
I don't believe that's not my house. That is not my house.
What do you think?
I love it. Oh, my God. Thank you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're happy with the colour?
I love it.
Really?
Yeah, I do. It's not something I would have picked myself.
Great.
You know, colour-wise, everything. I just love it. It works. It really works.
And this is Taubman's Endure, so the technology that goes with that means you won't have to repaint this for many years to come.
That's really good news.
I've given you a picket fence and reorientated the entry to be right in front of the front door. What do you think of that?
I like it. It's good.
You and I went to the recycling yard and picked out the recycled LED light window.
And they look beautiful.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
I know.
The transformation has been huge. Replacing the old aluminium window with a beautifully restored LED light one has brought back the old world charm, while the timber cladding and fretwork really enhanced the cottage feel. Top it off with our new bullnose veranda roof, and I think our mission has been a great success.
As far as the street is concerned, yours was the ugly duckling. I think now the cutest cottage on the street. What do you reckon?
Well, at the risk of offending the rest of the neighbours, yes. Everybody in the street here, we're all really friendly. We all get on really, really well, so they'll be dying to get over here and have a closer look. It's a totally different house now. It doesn't even look like the house that I had before. But now I can sit out here with a cup of tea and book, so you can actually use it as a living space. My original brief was a cottage feel, and I think you can say that Baz has met that 110%.
You gave 110%, Barry. Never good at maths, were you? But that house looks amazing now.
It does, and it's a place that she can be very proud to come home to now. But listen, it's a 4-day weekend, so anybody can get out this weekend and make their home a facelift or make it seem a lot better. Now, all it takes is a bit of paint, maybe some plants, a bit of elbow grease, a little bit of time. Get out there and have a go.
Nothing like a bit of hard work. I can watch it all day. Thank you, Barry. If you'd like to see more of that renovation or to find out any more about tonight's stories, I highly recommend our website. Good night.